Well, I don't know every spiritual person on the planet, or people who proclaim that throughout history, but I do know that you can go to the darkest corners of this planet, and there are three names that are known by everyone. Buddha, the Christ, Jesus the Christ, and Muhammad. To my knowledge, these have been the only enlightened people. And they were probably also the only people who have existed in the now. That would be an attribute of enlightenment. I practice the now when I am working. I practice. I did not say I achieve it continuously. Throughout the healing, I am continuously refocusing and refocusing. I continuously veer. So I must bring myself back on course continuously. I will say that over the years, however, especially over recent months, the advancements I've made on that level are quite impressive to me. And I don't worry about attempting to prove it to anybody else, because that is an impossibility. Okay? But I do, especially in recent months, stand in awe with the understanding of its simplicity and seeing that I am closer and closer each day, and that I can hold it longer and longer. I know this because I have become so much more aware of all the garbage that's in my head, of how many things distract me. I see now into shadows within shadows within shadows within shadows in my mind, and I see their distractions. And instead of saying I can't do it, now it's like, wow. I'm seeing all the crap that casts shadows into the now. It's easy to say I'm in the now. And I'm sure there'll be those that say, well, just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't. And that's fine too. I can't stop that from taking place. But to answer your question, I don't know of any people that exist in the now. And though I can achieve it for a few moments at a time, it is not something that I've achieved in my day-to-day life. Though it is something that I am now have been moving toward achieving it in all aspects of my life. But one step at a time, with clarity. I can always convince myself that I am, but if I drop myself into my own abyss, I can't lie to myself. The now is something that we must all inevitably achieve. But it won't come about easy. It won't come about without great effort.
How does unconditional love heal?
Unconditional love. That's the.
How are you healing? Put it that way.
Okay, that's a big question as well, but I'm going to try to bring it down into as few words as possible. First of all, for those of you who would believe that I am denying spirit is not the truth. I believe that spirit stands with me. I do not believe spirit does my work for me. Okay? I believe that I was designed, as we all were, in absolute perfection. I do not believe in the general belief system of this planet that we are all imperfect. I do not believe that God creates imperfection. Okay? But that belief system comes about because we believe that God cast us like this, and that we're, boom, puff, the magic dragon, we're complete. The reality is we are still unfolding into our perfection. But we have moved along the evolutionary line to such an extent that we have now become self-evolving beings. As an angel once told me, the children of God stand upright. It's time to take the training wheels off and become responsible for your own journey. I didn't understand that at first. It took me many years to understand that. Yeah, I understood some part of it. But what it really means is we've evolved so far in our unfolding. Now, for the last leg of our unfolding, it is us who take charge of our evolution. So I've always taken that, since I really clearly understood that, or that clarity is in me, I take responsibility for the work I do. I used to channel energy. I now create the energy that I transmit into a person. I was able to do that because I was able to discover, and it took me, by the way, it took me some 22 years. I caught a glimpse through my Omni experiences that I had of what unconditional love actually meant. And believe me, it is far, far vaster than what people believe. What Spirit demands of us in the state of love is vast. Unconditional love means unconditional love, and perhaps I'm sure I'll do a video on that, just on that, but it would take me too long to move into that. I caught a glimpse of it through my Omni experiences. And when I came back to my normal state of being, as one comes down over a period of several weeks, I attempted to master this wavelength of energy as I was doing my work. And I would have moments that for a few, 10, 15 seconds I could achieve it. And most of the times I could, in most healings, I could achieve it for a few seconds or even a minute at a time. But it was never in a really powerful, what I would say on the level that I do it today in. But I knew it was there, and I would talk to other healers about it, and I would get very condescending remarks. You could see it in the body language, and people behind my back talking about, I must be crazy, or, who do I think I am? Because, again, I'm not politically correct. I don't talk in the monotone, and I'm a human being. I believe I'm a human being anyway, and I have all of the afflictions other human beings have, and I don't walk around with a mask on. Okay? So who does he think he is that he can master that? And people would say, oh, but I heal with love all the time, all this stuff, but you didn't feel the vibration when they were there. And then they would say, well, that's because you don't believe. Okay? It was maybe about 2 years ago, actually it was maybe closer to 3 years ago. My wife had an accident, and I started working on her. And because I do love her, that frequency kicked in, or the wavelength kicked in very well. The very next day, right in this very room, a woman was sent to me from Racine, Wisconsin. And there was a group of healers working on her, and they became terrified because she started making some pretty animal-like noises, and her neck swelled up and a big bubble popped up out of it and started beating, and they described it as more like an egg coming out of her throat. And so they brought her here, and I was still pretty high on the frequency, what I call it the frequency, the wavelength of love. And I was still pretty high on that frequency, and I was just like, I mean, it was every cell of my body just had this biggest smile on it. And I put the young lady on the table, and I'd say it was no more than just a few seconds after I put her on the table, I got in a horrendously ugly, ugly voice. Reminded me of something out of the movie The Exorcism, you know. Who the hell are you? It's on that level. It was really, like, whoa, okay. And the veins popped up on her neck, and I mean, I almost expected her to be floating in the air. And wow, I mean, it's just like my chakras just blew open. And I don't know if you could feel it, but right now, just the thought of it's just generating all this beautiful, beautiful wavelength. And I didn't answer, and the cursing started, the swearing, and she started going into convulsions, and I just maintained what I was doing. And her mom was here. And there was a couple other people that were sitting in different areas here, but everybody was frozen at the same time. Nobody could move. And then one of them broke their paralysis and came running over and started screaming at me to stop. And I just put my hand out and I said, sit down. And they sat right there on the spot on the floor. And I continued. And anyway, make a long story short, the vibration, the frequency of love just kept growing and growing and growing. And I used no opposition to this parasite that was in her. And inevitably the energy built so greatly, and you just seen this nasty, nasty stuff coming out of her. And I knew at that point I had to do something to coach her more, and I was coaching her the whole way. And I had to get her to refocus on my voice, and getting her to understand that I'm the only one that understood where she was at and what was taking place in her. And she had to focus on my voice, and I had to keep her heart going. I had to keep her breath going. It was really, really intense. I wish I would have had the camera down here to see this. It was really intense.